Picture this. You see a car accident right in front of your workplace. Your instinct kicks in. You run outside to help, maybe even save a life. But when you come back inside, your manager isn't grateful. He isn't even neutral. He's furious. He calls it abandoning post. And when he threatened my job over it, I made a decision. If I was going down, I was going down on my terms. And let's just say he never saw it coming. If you've ever had a boss who treated you unfairly, or if you've ever dreamed of serving the perfect revenge to someone drunk on power, then you're in the right place. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. Because this story, it's bold, it's messy, and the ending is one you'll want to replay twice. I was 20 years old, broke, and clawing my way through survival mode. Summers weren't beaches and barbecues for me. They were 12-hour shifts, grease-stained uniforms, and scraping together enough to make a dent in tuition. I had one good job, one that didn't feel like hell. It was a lively little restaurant where the staff actually looked out for each other. We cracked jokes, covered for each other's tables, and celebrated birthdays with free slices of pie stolen from the kitchen. But the bills didn't care how fun my coworkers were. I needed more money. That's how I ended up with a second gig at a chain joint. I'll call Sapphire Wednesdays. From the start, I knew this wasn't going to be anything like my main job. The manager who interviewed me, he literally had a half-empty beer in his hand. Middle of the day, on a Tuesday, during the interview. That should have been my warning sign, but I ignored it. Rent doesn't wait for perfect jobs. The gig seemed straightforward enough. Seat customers, sweep the floor, keep the servers updated. Easy. I'd been doing restaurant work since 16. I could do this blindfolded. The first week was fine. Nothing special, nothing awful. But then came the day. It was one of those sticky summer afternoons where even the air conditioning can't keep up. The lunch rush was over, dinner hadn't started yet, and the place was almost eerily quiet. The hum of the soda machine was louder than the voices in the dining room. And then, screech, that heart-stopping sound of tires trying to grip asphalt, followed by a sickening metallic crunch. I froze. Heads turned toward the front window and my stomach dropped. A car had been clipped by a semi, shoved sideways, and slammed into a telephone pole. Without thinking, I spun toward the nearest server. "Call 911!" I yelled before bolting outside. The heat hit me like a wall. Asphalt shimmered. My shoes slapped against the pavement as I ran, my chest tight, adrenaline exploding in my veins. My brain was screaming, "God, please don't let me see blood. Please don't let me see a kid in that car." When I reached the wreck, I was bracing for the worst. But thank God, the driver was alive. A middle-aged woman shaking, crying, but alive. Strangers were already running over. The truck driver had his phone out, shouting details into it for the police. Another man crouched by the driver's side window, talking to her gently, keeping her calm. It was chaos, but it was human chaos. People helping people. I stayed for a few minutes, heart still hammering, until I was sure she wasn't in immediate danger. And then I jogged back inside, wiping the sweat from my forehead, thinking nothing of it. I wasn't gone longer than 5 minutes. But the second I walked in, I felt it. That kind of tension where the air itself seems to tighten. There he was, my manager. Arms folded, jaw tight, eyes narrowed like he was staring down a criminal. "Where did you go?" His voice was sharp, cutting through the empty lobby. I blinked, catching my breath. There was an accident outside. I went to make sure everyone was okay. His expression barely changed. He just tilted his head and squinted at me like I'd said the dumbest thing he'd ever heard. "Why did you feel the need to do that?" For a split second, I almost laughed. Because I'm human? Because someone could have been bleeding out on the pavement? My fists clenched at my sides as my chest tightened. Every smart, sarcastic reply burned at the back of my throat. But I swallowed them down. Instead, I said carefully, "Because someone could have been hurt." But he wasn't satisfied. He launched into this lecture about responsibility, about duty to the restaurant, about never leaving the host stand unattended. And then with the same smugness you'd expect from a traffic cop, writing a ticket for a broken taillight, he said, "I have to write you up. For abandoning post?" At first I thought I misheard him. Then I thought it was a joke. But no, he grabbed a form, scribbled on it, shoved it at me, and smirked as he said, "One more write-up in your first month, and you're fired." My stomach turned. My face burned hot. My hands trembled as I signed the paper. That night I went home still vibrating with anger. My dad was on the porch, smoking and sipping whiskey, and I unloaded everything on him. The more I ranted, the redder his face got. Not with anger, but with this dark, simmering laughter. He finally shook his head and said, "Son, quit. That job isn't worth your dignity. Focus on the one you actually like. He was right. But the rage in me wasn't done cooking. The more I thought about it, the more it twisted into something sharper. What if I didn't just quit? What if I quit my way? That's when the plan was born. My next scheduled shift with Captain Write-Up was Friday night. The busiest night of the week. Dinner rush. Loud, chaotic, packed with impatient customers. And here's the kicker. I was the only host scheduled. Perfect. Friday came. I didn't rush to work. I didn't even get ready on time. I took my sweet time, let the clock tick, let the chaos boil without me. When I finally walked in, an hour late, the scene was glorious. The lobby was a zoo. Families packed shoulder to shoulder, impatient customers tapping their watches, kids crying, servers darting around like headless chickens. And who was behind the host stand, drowning in all of it? My manager. His shirt clung to him with sweat, his hairline glistening, his face bright red. The second he spotted me, his eyes went wide. He stormed over, veins bulging in his neck. Where the hell have you been? Do you have any idea the mess you've caused? Every single head in that lobby turned to watch. It was like the universe itself had dimmed the lights and pointed the spotlight right at us. I let him rant. I stayed calm, almost serene. And when he finally paused for breath, I tilted my head and asked, sweet as sugar, "Am I going to get written up for this?" He exploded. "You bet your ass you're getting written up." His voice was so loud, I swear people in the parking lot probably heard him. That was my cue. I threw my hands up dramatically and shouted, "Oh no! Guess that means I'm fired then. See ya." And with that, I turned on my heel, pushed through the doors, and walked out. Gasps followed me, then chuckles. A ripple of laughter as the full crowd realized what they'd just witnessed. And in the middle of it all, my manager, red-faced, humiliated, drowning in a disaster of his own making. That night, I sat on the porch with my dad, sipping whiskey and grinning like a king who'd just claimed his throne. It was the sweetest Friday night shift I'd ever worked. At the end of the day, some managers forget what leadership really means. They think it's about control, about ego, about barking orders. But real respect, that's earned. And when someone tries to take advantage of you, sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply walking away, on your terms. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments,